Have you ever wondered if there's something lurking in the depths of space, an invisible giant that pulls galaxies towards their doom? Today we're going to talk about an intriguing and mysterious phenomenon known as the Great Attractor. And I'll also tell you about this man who was considered a genius but died believing he was insane. But before we begin, remember to press the like button because it really helps us out. The Great Attractor, a name that echoes with intrigue and mystery. What is it exactly? The Great Attractor is a vast region in space that acts as a gravitational anomaly. Its influence so strong that even galaxies aren't safe from its pull. In fact, our very own Milky Way is currently under its sway. You might be thinking, what's so scary about that? Galaxies moving around is not something unheard of. But here's the catch. The Great Attractor's pull isn't your average gravitational tug. It's intense enough to warp and distort space-time itself. Imagine being helplessly drawn into a region of space where the very fabric of reality is being stretched and torn. That's the kind of power we're dealing with here. So, just how does the Great Attractor exert such a strong gravitational force? Well, it comes down to one simple, or rather massive factor: its colossal size. The Great Attractor is a region of space approximately 600 million light-years across. To put that into perspective, that's about 3.8 trillion kilometers. If you tried to measure it out on Earth, you would need a tape measure longer than the entire observable universe. Now let's talk about mass. The more massive an object, the stronger its gravitational pull. And the Great Attractor has plenty of mass to go around. Within its colossal span lies a mind-boggling amount of matter, including hundreds of trillions of stars, countless nebulae, and perhaps even a supermassive black hole at its core. All this mass translates to an unfathomable gravitational force that can literally bend galaxies to its will. But what exactly is the Milky Way? Our home galaxy is a sprawling collection of stars, dust, and plasma held together by the invisible threads of gravity. At its center lies a supermassive black hole known as Sagittarius, a star, around which our solar system revolves. The Sun, with its retinue of planets, including Earth, resides in one of the spiral arms of the Milky Way, comfortably nestled amidst billions of other stars. Now picture this. The Milky Way, along with its neighboring galaxies, are all hurtling through space at a staggering speed of 250 kilometers per second. That's over 900,000 kilometers per hour. And they're all heading towards the Great Attractor. You can only imagine the gravitational havoc that ensues as the galaxies approach this cosmic behemoth. As the Milky Way draws closer to the Great Attractor, its stars begin to stretch and distort. Entire galactic arms are distorted as if someone is pulling them apart. The gravitational forces at play are so immense that they can tear apart not only galaxies, but also clusters of galaxies. These clusters are immense groups of galaxies bound together by gravity, often containing hundreds to thousands of member galaxies. As they approach the Great Attractor, these clusters are torn apart, with some galaxies escaping the gravitational pull, while others are pulled inwards towards the unknown. But the true horror of the situation becomes apparent when we consider what happens to individual stars within the galaxies. As the Great Attractor's gravitational pull intensifies, the stars experience a force that can be thousands of times greater than the forces that bind them to their own galaxy. Stars are literally ripped away from their galactic homes and flung into the inky blackness of space. It's hard to fathom the implications of such a phenomenon. Not only does it result in the destruction of entire galaxies and clusters, but it also scatters stars across the cosmos, leaving behind a trail of shattered remnants. The sheer scale and destructive power of the Great Attractor make it one of the most terrifying phenomena known to astronomers. But amidst this cosmic carnage, there is a glimmer of hope. The Milky Way is not alone in its plight. Other galaxies are also affected by the Great Attractor's gravitational pull. In fact, it is estimated that the gravitational anomaly affects a total of 50 million galaxies, each with its own story of cosmic horror. Among them is the Centaurus A, a cannibal galaxy that is currently being devoured by the Great Attractor. Its fate serves as a grim reminder of what awaits our own Milky Way unless a miracle intervenes. Cannibal galaxy sounds pretty crazy, right? Well, it's actually a real phenomenon in the universe. In the grand scheme of things, the term cannibal galaxy refers to a large galaxy that feeds on smaller galaxies. You might wonder how galaxies can consume one another, and the process is truly fascinating. It usually begins with a large galaxy encountering a smaller one. The gravitational interaction between them sets off a chain reaction, drawing the smaller galaxy into the larger one's clutches. As the smaller galaxy gets closer, tidal forces start to take hold. These forces arise from the gravitational pull of the larger galaxy, and they stretch and distort the smaller galaxy. Imagine a small boat in the middle of a raging ocean, tossed and turned by the relentless waves. That's what the tidal forces do to the smaller galaxy, pulling it apart and scattering its stars, gas, and dust. Once the smaller galaxy is disrupted, the larger one starts to devour the remains. This process is akin to a predator consuming its prey, leaving nothing behind but scattered fragments. One example of a cannibal galaxy is NGC 6500, a large spiral galaxy that has consumed several smaller galaxies. Its disk is filled with the remnants of these consumed galaxies, forming a sort of galactic graveyard. Another instance is the galaxy M82, also known as the Phantom Galaxy. It has a bizarre tadpole-like shape due to its consumption of a smaller galaxy. But why do galaxies engage in this rather unsettling behavior? The answer lies in the nature of the universe itself. Space is not a static realm, but a dynamic and ever-changing one. Galaxies are constantly in motion, colliding and merging with one another. It's a cosmic dance of destruction and creation. When galaxies collide, they don't simply bounce off each other. Instead, they exchange matter, merging into a single larger galaxy. This process, known as galactic cannibalism or galaxy accretion, allows galaxies to grow and evolve over time. It is through this process that galaxies acquire their bizarre shapes and properties. For example, the antennae galaxies are currently undergoing a collision that has distorted them into long, thin shapes resembling an insect's antennae. This collision will ultimately result in the formation of a single elliptical galaxy. So as you gaze up at the night sky, remember that the universe is a place of constant change and evolution. Galaxies are not static islands of stars and planets, but are engaged in a never-ending dance of cosmic interaction. When you think about the human brain, the first thing that probably comes to mind is how incredibly complex it is. It's responsible for everything we think, feel, and do. And yet, despite all of the advancements in technology and medicine, we still know relatively little about it. There's so much about the human brain that we don't understand, which is both exciting and daunting. Enter Santiago Ramon y Cajal, a Spanish neuroscientist who was born in 1852. He was considered a genius, but he died believing he was insane. Cajal was a pioneer in the field of neuroscience. He made groundbreaking discoveries about the structure of the human brain, specifically about how neurons work. Neurons are the cells that transmit information throughout the body. They are responsible for everything from our thoughts and emotions to our movements and reflexes. Cajal was one of the first people to propose that neurons were the basic unit of the nervous system. He also developed the Golgi stain, a technique that is still used today to visualize neurons. Despite his many accomplishments, Cajal spent the last 20 years of his life believing that he was insane. This is because he had a rare neurological condition called dementia praecox, now known as schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a mental disorder that causes people to see or hear things that are not real, to believe things that are not true, and to behave in ways that are bizarre or inappropriate. Symptoms typically begin in late adolescence or early adulthood. Despite the fact that Cajal was one of the leading experts on the brain, he was unable to convince anyone that he wasn't going insane. He died in 1934 believing that he was mentally ill. However, after he died, researchers discovered that he had a genetic mutation that made him particularly susceptible to schizophrenia. This discovery led to a better understanding of the disease and helped to dispel some of the stigma surrounding it. Santiago Ramon y Cajal was a brilliant scientist who made groundbreaking discoveries about the human brain. Despite his accomplishments, he suffered from a rare neurological condition that caused him to see and hear things that were not real. He died believing that he was insane, but his legacy lives on through his research and the countless lives that it has touched. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something new. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to subscribe. Until next time, keep looking up.